He's been on here many times, but of course, now it's the time to get him on because we got a big game for the Southern fans coming up in August. It is the MEAC SWAC Challenge. Nobody better talk about it than the executive director of the Cricket Wireless Celebration Bowl, and as well as the MEAC SWAC Challenge, my man, John Grant. Good morning.
Good morning, Perry. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
You know what? We are wonderful, brother. Happy to be on with you this morning. You and your the Jaguar fans.
You up? You playing a little golf this morning?
No, it's a little rainy here in Atlanta and overcast. So, actually, I was down in Houston yesterday at Texas Southern at a symposium that with a lot of some of the leadership, athletic directors, and so forth from the SWAC. And with Dr. Cavill and his crew and his students down there. So it was a great symposium that he did on HBCU sports.
Let's jump right into it. Southern University, North Carolina Central, going to be in the MEAC SWAC Challenge, man. This is going to be a big one over in Atlanta this year. You guys continue to get this thing. You say start in the A and end in the A. That has been the motto for the MEAC and for the SWAC. That's what teams want. If you get a chance to play in that MEAC SWAC Challenge, you want to end in the A in the Celebration Bowl, and you are running both these things. Let's talk about the MEAC SWAC Challenge this year for 2025 with the selection of Southern and North Carolina Central in it.
Big matchup, Perry, as you well know. As a matter of fact, this was a matchup sought out by both institutions. I don't remember the last time that they played together, but Coach Oliver at North Carolina Central has some history down with Southern, and we know how much the Jaguar fans love Atlanta, just like the Eagles fans for North Carolina Central. People love Atlanta. So we were happy to put this one together, Perry. And one other important point, this marks the 20th anniversary this year of the kickoff game, the MEAC SWAC Challenge kickoff. We're celebrating 20 years this year.
That is huge. And I remember, this game has been all over the place. It's been in Birmingham. I remember the days in Legion Field. I remember then you guys took it over to Orlando, wasn't it?
That is correct.
Had it in Orlando, and then we had a stint here where it hosted at two different schools. Bethune-Cookman and Alcorn played over in Daytona. I remember that game because the lightning delay kind of threw that game off. And then we had it here in Baton Rouge, Southern versus South Carolina State. And now it has found a home in Atlanta, man. This thing, it has traditionally continued to keep the support of the people that's around, but it has found homes in different states.
That's true. We had it, like you said, it started in 2005 in Birmingham, was there for about 3 years, and it spent a number of years in Orlando before, going on campuses. But, we talked to ESPN about, that game it required having a home, having a stable site. And so we didn't think there would be a better place for it than Atlanta. And it was struggling initially when we brought it here. That was a close game down in Baton Rouge with South Carolina State. Went down to the wire and a drop pass in the end zone, if you remember that.
My man Danny Johnson knocked the pass down and won it for Southern, no doubt about it.
Sure did. And so having it here just gives it, Atlanta's a great city for people to come to. It's the number one travel destination for African Americans in the country. It's a great, everybody has friends and family here. We all do. And so it's just been a great location to start the season. And we're excited that what's really important about this game, Perry, is, it's in prime time. We're 7:30 p.m. on Saturday, Eastern time, Saturday, here in Atlanta on ABC to open, the college football season. And it is the second most watched game in week 0 on that day for the last 2 years.
Let me ask you this. Celebrating 20 years, somebody had to sit down and have this thought and say, man, this could be something great one day. How did this thing just blossom from an idea to a reality?
Well, the game itself, to tell a little bit, elaborate a little bit history on that. Back in 2005, when it was launched, Commissioner then of the MEAC, Dennis Thomas, and Commissioner Viles, who was the commissioner of the SWAC at the time, came together with ESPN to put together a game that would give both of the conferences a bowl-like experience, but it would be at the beginning of the season. And so the game used to be like a 3 or 4 day series of activities, just like a bowl week. And it would be the champions from the previous year that would participate. It evolved over the years, Perry, and it didn't. The champions no longer participated in it, and then the Celebration Bowl was launched in 2015, which really kind of evolved the game. And it, in all honesty, ESPN was paying a little bit less attention to it because of the attention to the national championship with the Celebration Bowl. So there was some conversations. Do we continue it? Do we not? Because its purpose was about the bowl experience, and now you had a bowl game. And in that conversation, no, we need to continue. Let's put it in Atlanta, and we'll hook it to the bowl game. Meaning, you start in the A and you end in the A in Atlanta, and so that's what really gave it some impetus. And then moving to week 0, because if you recall, it was on the Sunday of Labor Day weekend.
Mm-hmm.
In 2021, we moved it to the first week, which is week 0, the last week of August. And that's when it really took off and began to thrive.
For my Southern fans out there, Southern is undefeated in the MEAC SWAC Challenge.
They are.
Beating FAMU, beating Delaware State, beating South Carolina State. Now, we got North Carolina Central circled and targeted. And, of course, Trey Oliver, former defensive coordinator here at Southern University. So we know Coach Oliver, but we also know how tough the North Carolina Central Eagles are. They're no slouch of a team. Trey Oliver always has his teams prepared. I look back at the history. These two teams last met in 2006 here in Baton Rouge, and Southern lost that game 27-20 to North Carolina Central. So we got to redeem ourselves. I know 2006 was a long time ago, and, I'm still thinking the 90s was 10 years ago, Mr. Grant, but it ain't. So 2006 was a long time ago. Mike, what year you was born? Mike was born in 2002, so yeah, and Mike grown now. So
he said he was 4 years old when that happened. So we think that this, not recognizing at the time when we put the matchup together the significance that it would actually hold, and so the fact that this game is taking place this year with that kind of rivalry, as you mentioned, and the history around these two prestigious institutions and their program. And I've got to add to this. That, this will be the Human Jukebox first big public performance since the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Are you excited to see the Human Jukebox? I hear you. You sound like you're a little excited.
Man, look, not only me, but I'm going to say all of America is going to be excited because, with this nationally televised game, they're going to get an opportunity to come back, and just like they closed out the NFL with the Super Bowl, they're going to get to open college football with the MEAC SWAC Challenge this year.
Let me ask you this, because you said something and it just posed a question in my head. You said the MEAC SWAC Challenge, of course, why it was started, to give that bowl-like feeling that starts the season off. Does this pay out like a bowl for these teams that participated in the beginning of the year?
There is a good payout. It's not to the level of a bowl game because, you earn your way to the seat to get to Atlanta. The MEAC SWAC is an invitation because we're now booked up through 2028. So we put this game together probably back in 2018 or 19, this matchup for this year. And so yes, it's different in that regard.
What are you looking for aside from the fans in the stands? Because I know the network side of this is big, and that's where you have a lot of the conversations. We talked about that before. Hey, it's about the eyeballs. Talk about that when you look at this game and trying to get people to tune in, because you guys have had College Game Day there in the past with Lee Corso and the guys making, the game picks and so much. So you try to generate the interest to it, but for you, the eyeballs of the fans that are watching across the nation, how important that is. And what are you guys looking in terms of a goal this year out of that?
Well, it's a very good question. And let me tell you how proud we are. And I want to say we, not just at ESPN, how proud we are in the HBCU community to have a game that's positioned to open all of college football. For the last 2 years, the MEAC SWAC Challenge has been the second most watched game in week 0. We were second to Notre Dame and Air Force back in 2023. We were second most watched to Georgia Tech and Florida State. Then the difference is both of those games in week 0, they preceded us in time, but they were also played internationally. They were played in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
So the MEAC SWAC Challenge being the second most watched game made it the most watched college football game on American soil. Think about that, Perry. That our conferences, our institutions, our HBCUs was the most watched college game played in America in week 0.
Big time. And when you look
That's
at this,
huge.
you guys have events. What are the events? Because the game itself is big, but what are the events leading up to this to give fans and everybody coming into Atlanta things to do?
Well, another very good question. This game being a little different from what we do with the national championship and the bowl game, we really work very closely and partner with the alumni associations of both schools. So what we focus on here is making sure that we're opening the season with a kickoff game that has a lot of energy, a lot of storylines that we can tell, et cetera, and so forth. So as far as the public-facing events, all of those are really alumni association generated. And so we know that, for instance, we had a meeting and we're having continual meetings with the Southern University Alumni Association. And they're planning some really big things that are going to be up on our website within the next 1 to 2 weeks. The same thing with North Carolina Central. They're going to be doing that. And then, of course, our pregame fan experience that we have at the stadium is really, really big. And, we'll have 20,000 people at that event for starting from 3 until, kickoff at 7. Gates open at 6:30, but we kick off at 7:30. But so we have a lot of people that gather there. And then not only that, after the game, they come back out and continue the festivities until about 1 in the morning.
I mean, it is Atlanta. It is known for its nightlife. You know what I'm saying? Look.
Yeah.
Let's look over it because not only we talk about this, I also want to talk about the Celebration Bowl because they both work hand in hand when we talk about start in the A, end in the A. How did things end up for you guys out of last year's Celebration Bowl between Jackson State and South Carolina State? What was the numbers looking like? And when you got a chance to step away from it and say, all right, successful event, what did successful event look like for you?
So let me frame it in the context of all of bowls. So there are 43 total bowl games. If you take out the New Year's Six, which are a part of the college football playoff, if you take out the New Year's Six and the championship, that's 7 games. Those games are going to be bigger than anyone anyway, than any of the others. That leaves you with 36 actual bowl games, of which we're one of the 36. When you look at attendance from last year's game, we were number 8 out of 36. When you look at viewership, total audience, we were number 13 out of 36. So that's highly successful for us when you got bowl games that's been established for many years, and we're only 8. I mean, we're the infant in the room when you look at that. But then also, Perry, when you look at the fact we're the only FCS or football championship subdivision bowl that's a part of the bowl season association, that is really, really significant and successful, for our event. So great kudos to all the fans that were there and all the people who watched. We had 2.6 million people at peak, averaged out at 2.3 million, during the in viewership for that game.
And I also want to add to this for you to answer this, for people to not understand how big of a marketing tool has this become for those schools who do participate when you talk about applications to help towards enrollment for these schools being on these platforms and being able to put themselves out there nationally to be seen in front of millions of people?
That's a very, very good question, and it is tremendous. I was sharing just yesterday when we were speaking that in terms of media value, last year each school from their marks and everything being seen on television and the mentions and all of that during the game, received over $6 million worth of media value just from the game alone, just the school each. Let me say that each. So Jackson State and South Carolina State each got $6 million worth of media value from their marks, from their mentions, and the images, in the telecast, and that's huge. And if you so that alone gives the opportunity to put them in front of millions of people, to have their brands out there. And so we definitely see every year participating schools, as A.D. Robinson shared with me at Jackson, and the AD at Central shared with me as well, that they both have seen their institutions have seen significant spikes in applications for their institution, which is great. As a matter of fact, Central has a housing issue just like Jackson does. They've got more young students interested than they can accommodate, at this time.
Let me ask because you had an opportunity in this game to have Coach Deion Sanders and Shador, whose names all over the place. How big was that for the Celebration Bowl when you guys were able to capture that moment and have that type of marketing pub along with it?
It was an excellent, what I call a little boost for us. It was the first time when they came in 2022 that the game completely sold out for us at 50,000 for the bowl game. But what we have seen, though, our viewership in terms of television remained pretty consistent. Mm-hmm. And so this past year was a really good year for us. We were down a little bit the year before because we were up against two NFL games. Because now the NFL plays, they put games on that Saturday where we were previously before we had to move with the playoff expansion. So we moved up a week earlier last year, and so our numbers were down a little bit in 2023, but they bounced back in 2024 and were consistent with what we saw in 2022 and 21 when Coach Prime was at Jackson State.
Listen, let me tell you, Southern fans fiending for a Celebration Bowl, Bert. We cannot wait till the day you present us with that ticket, that invitation, saying, hey, we can take the MEAC SWAC challenge, okay? But we want that invitation when you come down and hand it to us and say, hey, you headed to the Celebration Bowl. I sat back and I had to watch Jackson State accept it last year in Jackson, Mississippi. I'm sitting back. I watched plenty of teams. I saw you give it to Alcorn State 2 years. I didn't watch us give it away. You give it away to somebody else other than us. Minnie, don't laugh at me, Mr. Grant. I'm
loving this. I'm loving this. And the great thing, Terry, that we all can be proud of. I mean, that everybody, think about this, that we have something that each school, that at the beginning of the season, that each coach during media day has one goal in mind. And that's to get to Atlanta, to get to the Celebration Bowl. So along the way now, we know that there's big rivalry games out there. We know that the Bayou Classic's out there. We know that whatever that Southern participates in, but those games are on the way to a destination. Mm-hmm. You have to win those to get to where you really want to go. So in the past, those games ended up being, that's. Once you hit those and you win those, hey, a coach can lose every other game, but for Southern, but don't lose the Bayou Classic.
No.
Now you got to win that because you're trying to get to the next step.
And it's been Jackson State in our way. Let me ask you this: there have been rumblings, and we had a conversation here on the show of maybe the MEAC not being so stable moving into the future. Have you guys began to evaluate what the future looks like? If the case does happen where stability of the MEAC begins to fall apart a little bit, because, of course, we've seen Bethune-Cookman and FAMU come to the SWAC. We've seen Hampton and North Carolina A&T move on, and then there are rumblings that other teams in the MEAC may be looking at other opportunities. What then does the future look like if there's a plan B, and is the plan B kind of being put into place to ensure that the future of the MEAC SWAC Challenge, in which it bears the two conferences' name, and the Celebration Bowl, in which the two conference championships play in, to ensure that the future will survive with this wonderful opportunity for viewers, millions of people to watch across the nation?
That's a very good question, Perry, and we have one plan, and that's Plan A. And it's also our plan to make sure that we have two stable Division I HBCU conferences. I mean, we obviously, the conference manages its own internal affairs, but we're in constant communication with the conference members, and we hear, just like they do, the rumblings out there of someone's thinking of leaving, someone's looking to go there, and I can tell you that communication that we're receiving is none of it is true.
Okay.
None of it is true, and that's directly from the institutions themselves. How this comes out, we have no idea, and that's what they say, but there is no truth at all to any of those institutions looking to lead the conference. Okay. And I will tell you, when you look at, and I just read this yesterday, when you think about North Carolina A&T and Hampton going to the CAA, well, the CAA just announced, it was just announced yesterday, they didn't announce it, that William and Mary football program is leaving the CAA, going to the Patriot League. Mm. So that follows, 3 or 4 universities in the last 3 years or so that are leaving the CAA, including Richmond and Delaware. Now you got William and Mary, and there's one other, I believe. Oh, before them it was James Madison. So, what we are committed to doing, we're committed to assuring that we are putting the best value proposition forward for the conferences and for the conference members. And there is no other stage bigger. Let me see this, because I want your fans to hear this. There's no stage of any kind larger than the MEAC SWAC Challenge and Celebration Bowl for HBCUs. And when I say that, I'm talking about total live audience. And that's what matters today in college football, and especially in media-driven college football. How many people are watching? Mm-hmm. How many people are there is cosmetic. There's value to it, but from the TV side, it's more cosmetic. And so, putting a great matchup on the field, creating something that fans are interested in coming to and being a part of, but also making sure that you're putting something out there that people want to watch. Because as I mentioned to you before, last year we had 1.4 million people that watched the MEAC SWAC Challenge. There isn't a stadium in the world that can hold 1.4 million people. Mm-hmm. Nowhere. So you've got to focus on how you get the most expansive audience, and that's what we're doing, and that's the value that we're bringing to the SWAC and to the MEAC.
Hey, A&T gonna learn the grass ain't greener on the other side.
Tell me. And look, that's my alma mater.
Hey, I'm just keeping it real about the Aggies. The grass was not green on the other side.
I concur, and I'm one that says this. If you want to build something that has value for you, and these two games, along with the games that the institutions have built over the years, our classic games, bring value direct to the institution. Mm-hmm. And so that's the critical piece for us in all of this. And then playing the long game, and building something that can last far beyond you and me, Perry, and everybody else. We're looking 50 years down the road, 100 years down the road. So when we talk to our team, and we want to make sure fans understand, what is it that we're building that can be a great institution for your children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, that they can have something like this to enjoy, and not understanding what the scale of it may be at that point. We're hoping that it's the marquee property, not just in HBCU football, but in all of college football. Mm-hmm. And so that's what the goal is. So coming to Atlanta on August the 23rd this year with Southern and North Carolina Central is a piece to that puzzle. There should be no one in Baton Rouge other than the police. and they're there to guard the campus. Everybody should be on the road to Atlanta, and if they can't come, those should be watching it. If you can't come, turn it on, and make sure you are supporting Southern University in that manner.
We are the Jaguar Nation. We do like to show up deep, especially in Atlanta. And then, for people out there, the different alumni chapters around the country, they get together, they do watch parties. And so, they gather in large numbers and they watch. And we love our football here at Southern University. Of course, I cover everybody around the SWAC and the MEAC as well. But particularly since it's the Jaguar Journal, the listening ears are the people that's right here in the Baton Rouge area in Louisiana and Southern fans, man. We love our football. That's why I was speaking so passionately about sitting back and watching you present that invitation to everybody but us. And I want that invitation from you. Let me ask you this before I get ready to let you go. How do we ensure, because we know what this was before the Celebration Bowl, Southern fans know what we love. We love the Heritage Bowl, right? That was Southern's game. What happened with the Heritage Bowl where it kind of lost itself along the way and what we thought it was going to be successful? Because I do know the MEAC was like having issues with not wanting to send its best team to the Heritage Bowl, wanted to send their team to at the time, the D1 AA playoffs. So it kind of had its ups and downs, but what ultimately happened, and how can we ensure the Celebration Bowl does not meet that same fate as the Heritage Bowl?
There were a series of factors that impacted the Heritage Bowl. The first one that you indicated was, and Southern had a lot of success in the Heritage Bowl. Let me say that. So
we live in the past. Pete Richardson, Heritage, we love it.
but with that, and I'll get back to, we want today's Southern fans to write a new chapter in history, and you're doing that. And so that you've got a great coach there, a great program that he's building. Excited for it. You've been close. You just want to get over that last hump. Jackson's been in the way for a couple of years, but I think that ultimately with the program that's being built, that'll happen, and the support the fans are giving, and that's the most important thing. Support your program. You got to support your program. Support it with your presence, and support it with your finances. That's what builds championships. But to answer your question about the Heritage Bowl, that was the first thing. It was supposed to be the champions, but you're right. The MEAC was sending their champions to the playoffs. Number two, after that, the thing that hurt them was getting a title sponsor. I mean, it was difficult for them to get the sponsorship needed to secure it, and then they lost the TV deal, because of that also. And then when you have you put those elements together, fan support dwindled, and significantly. And so those are probably the underpinnings of why it ultimately folded. Then you had teams not necessarily wanting to come after that, and now you're going down to not only second but bringing in third level teams. Well, the thing that differentiates that from the Celebration Bowl is because both conferences have committed to forego their qualifier and send their champion. So we're guaranteed the champion, and which makes this a national championship game. So that invitation that you were referencing earlier, wanting to see that you want, that as we call it, the golden ticket, is it. That's what every coach wants to get their hands on, because that is their invitation to Atlanta. They've earned it at that point. And that's the formal invitation for them to come. So the beautiful thing finally on this that we're making sure we're working on is that the Celebration Bowl is not only dependent on the two teams. This is our Super Bowl. It's our Super Bowl, the HBCU Super Bowl. So it's beautiful, as you know, Perry, when you walk around and you see, all fans from all HBCUs wearing their paraphernalia.
Including
and
me.
that's
My team ain't even been in it, and I've been in there wearing Southern stuff, and you see plenty of it.
Absolutely, and that's what the essence of the Celebration Bowl is. It is a celebration of our success, of our coming together of HBCUs. It is like an ultimate homecoming when people come together and they meet people from other universities. And I see that happen a lot. People who meet at the game, and I see them, in the hotel or wherever, and I see them talk, oh, how did you guys get? Oh, we just bet today, and we're coming back together next year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this game is. This is what we have, and this is what we foster. So trying to get away from, well, if my team's not in it, I'm not going. We have to get into, as I tell people, if I walked up to anyone and said, hey, I got 2 tickets to the Super Bowl, are you going to ask me who's playing?
No, I'm going.
You going. And so that's what the Celebration Bowl can and will be. Hey, I've got 2 tickets Celebration Bowl. I don't care who's playing. I'm going.
How do fans get ready to get their tickets for anybody out there listening, no matter Southern fans, any fans, North Carolina Central, any of them, anybody who listens, who you just said, you know what, I heard John Grant this morning, I'm going to the MEAC SWAC Challenge. Where do they go get their tickets? What's the information that they need to do to keep up with this thing? Very good.
And Perry, fans want to visit our website at MEACSWACchallenge.com. That's MEACSWACchallenge.com. Tickets, all information is available to you on that site. And make sure you go to that site, to the MEAC SWAC Challenge home site. There are some other third-party sites out there that have the tickets prices higher, but make sure you visit the homepage for MEACSWACchallenge.com and for tickets and information.
Well, Mr. Grant, man, I appreciate you. And everybody out there listening, that's the voice of John Grant. He's the executive director of the MEAC SWAC Challenge, along with the Cricket Wireless Celebration Bowl, man. Thank you for coming on this morning, taking the time to inform the fans and the listeners out there on what this thing is, the past, the future, the present, and what we're looking like headed into 2025 is we're going to have Southern take on North Carolina Central. National television audience will be sitting there waiting, prime time, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, 6:30 Central Standard Time. Week 0 should be a huge matchup of 2 programs who have a tradition-rich football history. And the last time these 2 teams met up was in 2006 here in Baton Rouge, in which North Carolina Central won that game. So Southern should want to get back. And the beautiful thing about it, Southern fans, we're undefeated in this game, so that automatically, to me, in my mind, I'm psyched out. That give me a leg up in this one. But everybody, we got to go play the game and wait on the clock to hit 0. So thank you, John Grant, for coming on this morning, man. And it's always a pleasure to have a conversation and inform the people on what's going on.
Thank you, my friend. And you guys have a great day, and go Jaguar.